Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Kreutzer, you had started to answer a question about global warming, and I have a feeling you didn't finish your answer. And I wondered if you could just
Good job.
expand on that.
I think I was responding to Congressman Kucinich asking me if I believed in global warming. And, I said, yeah, we're warming. The question, though, is more than are we having warming and is it caused by human-made emissions? We're looking at a set of regulations. And if we're going to do cost-benefit, we need to look at what's the cost of the regulation compared to how much benefit you get from reduced global warming. That's the problem with CO2, if there is one. And climatologists looked at the Waxman-Markey bill, which was more comprehensive than the current EPA regulations. Their estimates were that by 2050, if you use the largest sensitivity of temperature to CO2, the high end, the maximum change moderation from Waxman-Markey, that is, how much difference would Waxman-Markey make? Thousandths of a degree in 2050, maybe a few tenths of a degree in 2100. This will have less impact than that. So we can't compare the cost here to stopping tsunamis. We have to compare the cost here to what impact it will have on moderating world temperatures. And it's pretty minimal. In 50 years, not even measurable.
Thank you. In your testimony, you talk about the cost, the cost of cap and trade, and the cost to our GDP, as well as the number of employees. Can you comment in general? That's specific to that piece of legislation. But what regulations are doing? Our country has had 20+ months of unemployment, hovering at 9 to 10%. So we're concerned about that. We want to get government out of the way so businesses can succeed. Can you shed some light on that?
We haven't done an estimate on the impact of the most recent regulations. We're working on ones for the projected EPA regulations. But one of the things that happens when you have an environment where you say, we might impose this, we might impose this, it makes it very difficult to make investment. Now, some on the other side would say that's why we need to have the regulations. But that's when you say, we know for certain it's going to be really bad. When there's some uncertainty that's really bad, you still don't want to invest. But when it comes through horrible, that's even worse. Okay, so yeah, we have a problem where to make the investments in power industry, to build the power plants we're going to need, for firms that are in energy-intensive industries are reluctant to go forward if they think the regulations are going to be burdensome.
And I just want to go back to your previous answer to the first question I asked you. Is there, in your opinion, what is the connection between this CO2 emission and global warming?
I'm not a scientist, I'm an economist, so it's close to a man on the street interview now. There will be some warming from man-made emissions, probably. There's some models that show some offsetting. But the CO2 by itself, if it doubles, will lead to a doubling, will lead to a 1.5 degrees of warming. The argument is all about, are there feedback loops? The models have lots of them. The data so far, we look at the last 15 years, we don't have accelerating warming. It's kind of hit the 1999 level, it's been pretty flat. So, we don't know for sure what it is. But more importantly, let's say it is the 4.5 degrees C that they're talking about at the high end of the IPCC model. What does any of this regulation do? If all it does is impose costs and make us feel like we're doing something, but we're not, then we're getting the warming anyway, and unemployment and lower income. So whether you believe IPCC or not, this is not a solution.
Thank you very much. I yield back.